Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It has been quite a ride since the last time I made a video. I have moved to a different state. I got married. I've got all this stuff going on. I have had a lot of stuff going on and I got a lot of stuff done over this past 6.5, 7 months since I made a video. So I'm back to make a video today. And not to just bore you with all my personal details, we're going to get right into it. This is about the psychedelic band, the Jefferson Airplane, not the Jefferson Starship of the 70s and not the Starship of the 80s, the Jefferson Airplane from 1966 to 1972. Now, there was an album made, a reunion album in '89, and we'll get to that, but this is about the Jefferson Airplane. So, psychedelic band from the 60s. So, we're going to rank their albums according to my choice, my favorites, of course. You'll have your own. And again, this is not some universal ranking. There's one thing that I run into a lot when I'm making these videos, and I know a lot of these people who make these videos run into this same problem where we will list our favorites, and some jackrabbit will get on here and be like, oh, but this is the best album, and you're wrong about this. And it's not a matter of being wrong, dude. I'm not, it's not about, I'm not making a universal ranking of the greatest Jefferson Airplane albums. I'm making my rankings. This is my channel, my rankings. So, how I feel about these albums. But I do appreciate all you guys that listen to my channel and watch my channel. I want to throw a shout out to somebody. I have done that before in my videos, and I want to do it this time. There's a guy out there. He goes by the name of These Reviews, and he reviews a lot of these psychedelic albums from the 60s, and I really enjoy the guy. He has said that I had some sort of influence on him, but I really enjoy his reviews and his material as well. And check it out. It's called These Reviews, and I'll put a link in the description to his YouTube channel. Now, let's get started. I've done enough talking. Coming in last place is this album that I previously mentioned, that the Jefferson Airplane had a reunion album that they made in 1989. This was after the whole Starship thing and all that. They got back together and decided to do a Jefferson Airplane album. Did it succeed? No. This is not a Jefferson Airplane album. It's not a terrible album. I mean, it's a pop album in its 80s, and it sounds 80s, but it's far removed from the Jefferson Airplane that you know and love. The album is slicker than Grace's last name. It's just not Jefferson Airplane canon. So, but I will say one good thing about the album. There is a track on it called Freedom, and that track is a killer track. It could have been on the Volunteers album. Not the production, obviously, it's 80s production, but if it had been made in the 60s, it would have been perfect to go on the Volunteers album. So I would recommend that one track off this album, Jefferson Airplane, self-titled, not a debut album though, 1989. There's a couple of more little tracks on there. Yorma has a blues track, Up Front Blues. Panda's all right. It sort of sounds, it's very 80s. The guitar solo sounds a lot like something David Gilmour would have put out off Momentary Lapse of Reason or something. But other than that, the album's not that good. Just the one song, Freedom. Go listen to it. Great song. Okay, moving on. Next is going to be 1971's Bark album. Some pretty good little tracks on this album. There's a song called Pretty As You Feel, Grace sings, and it sort of reminds me, it could be the first song, and the sequel to it could be You're So Pretty by the Cranberries or something. So it kind of gives you that little dark, quirky feel. pretty as you feel on that one. This album's very earthy. It's almost like they're reflecting back to their through their history. But there's some lively moments, poignant moments. The thing about this album is there's no Marty Balin. Marty Balin left the band, and he's not on this album. And to me, that hurts this album. But Grace is still in top form. Great song, Pretty As You Feel, like I said. Lawman, a great rocker. I love that song. Third Week in the Chelsea. So it's a decent album. I don't dislike the album, but it comes in next to last, Bark. Okay, after that is the Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. This is their debut album. This album's very folky, like a folk pop, flower power sort of, wistful album. It's very restrained compared to what the Jefferson Airplane would do later on. It seems like they're searching for themselves. The one who dominates this album, of course, Grace is not on this album. It's another singer called Signe Tolley. I believe that's her nickname. Her name, I don't know. I can't pronounce her name. Never really looked it up. She's a pretty good singer. She's not Grace, but Marty Balin pretty much dominates this one. His It's No Secret is the best song off this album to me. Come Up the Years is a good song. There's some good tracks on it, but that's about as far as it goes here. Good. So there you have that one. Jefferson Airplane Takes Off. Okay, next is going to be the last album they made before the reunion album. Marty Balin did come back for this one, and this is a solid rock album. Just a rock and roll album. Not a lot of psychedelia going on here. Not a lot of folk and pop. Just rock mostly. Very strong album. Picks up from the cynicism of the Volunteers album. Very, very manic and unrestrained compared to the Jefferson Airplane Takes Off, which was very restrained. This one I could see as a companion piece to Volunteers. It's just a rocking rocking album. Marty returns, as I said. You've got songs like Airy Gang of Eagles, great song. Grace sings on that one. Twilight Double Leader. Eat Starch Mom is just an in-your-face sort of sarcastic song. I really enjoy this album. Great rocking album. If you like Hot Tuna, that Jorma Kaukonen and Jack Cassidy went on from this band to create the band Hot Tuna, you're probably going to like Lone John Silver. It's a great rockin' blues album. Okay, so moving on is going to be After Bathing at Baxter's. This is the most psychedelic album of the band. I really enjoy psychedelic music. Small Package Value, just a very weird, bizarre little collage of stuff going on there. It's very, very psych rock, very experimental stuff. But again, it's got, it's very quirky at some areas. It's got 3 really solid tracks on it. Martha, which is just a sort of earthy kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's not really a pastoral song, but it's just, I love the way it says it's got that 60s production. It just sounds so good. Just a Jefferson Airplane classic. Rejoice, which is a very hypnotic song. Grace sings. Won't You Try, a rocking song that they played at Woodstock. I recommend the rocking Woodstock version of Won't You Try. Saturday afternoon, Won't You Try. Woodstock version over this version, and that's one reason this album is not as high ranked, because I prefer the Woodstock live version of that song. But my favorite one off this one is Rejoice. You got to listen to that song if you've never heard it. Very psychedelic, very dark, dreamy, sort of just very bizarre song. I really, really enjoy the change ups and melody and chords, all this stuff. Great song. Next is going to be Volunteers. Very political album, rough around the edges. It's a rock album. It's very confrontational, but there are some poignant moments on it as well. You have We Can Be Together, which is a very confrontational song. You have Hey Frederick, rocker there. You've got Eskimo Blue Day. You've got Volunteers. All these are rockers. Grace does great in these songs. Marty Ballin just screaming his head off in Volunteers. Great song. And then, of course, probably my favorite song off this album is the very subtle Wooden Ships. Wooden Ships was written by Paul Kantner and David Crosby and Stephen Stills from Crosby, Stills, Nash. Crosby, Stills, Nash has a version of Wooden Ships. It's more of a upbeat rocking version. This is a more subtle, very psychedelic, dreamy sort of sail away, sort of very soft version compared to their version. I really enjoy both versions of Wooden Ships, and this one is my favorite off this album, Volunteers. Moving on. Next is Crown of Creation. This is a much darker album than anything they had made up to this time. You have Lather, which is about a man-child sort of weird song. Not my favorite, but I do enjoy the atmosphere of it. Triad, which was written by David Crosby, I believe. This is about a love, well, not necessarily a love triangle, more like a threesome sort of thing going on. Crown of Creation, which is the title track. I got buzzed. Title track, Crown of Creation. What a wonderful song. It starts out really heavy and then just sort of fades. And it just, the way, it's almost like what they say, the world ends with a whimper instead of a bang. Awesome song. And then my favorite song ends the album, House at Poonell Corners. Jack Cassidy's bass booming off the walls. What a incredible rocking track. This, again, you've got to hear House at Poonell Corners if you hadn't heard it. Fantastic melodies, harmonies, vocals coming in. I mean, they just sound very angry in this song. Very rocking song, but very spacey as well. Great song. And my favorite album from the Jefferson Airplane is of the classic crowning achievement masterpiece of San Francisco psychedelia, Surrealistic Pillow. I love every song off this album with the possible exception of Plastic Fantastic Lover. I'll get it out. Not crazy about that one, but every other song I love off this album. This is very folk, pop, psychedelia. It's got some rockers on it, though. 3/5 of a Mile. She Loves Funny Cars. Great opening track. It's very passionate. It's got some gentle moments like Coming Back to Me and Today. It's just a wonderful romantic ballad song, but very spacey and psychedelic as well. Very dreamy. This album's very atmospheric. Grace, of course, brought 2 songs to this album. Somebody to Love, which was the smash hit of anthem of the Summer of Love, and White Rabbit, which is the anthem of the psychedelic era. So, those are 2 powerful tracks there. Marty's Ballads, of course. My favorite track off this is DCBA. It makes me feel good to hear this song. I love it. I learned to play it. I got my daughter to sing it with me. It just does something to me. It's, you have those songs that just touch your soul, and this is one of them. This is a fantastic song. I love it. It couldn't be any more perfect. It needs to be a little bit longer, then it would be perfect. But yeah, DCBA 25, my favorite. So Surrealistic Pillow, my favorite Jefferson Airplane, the #1 track. And that is the Jefferson Airplane rankings, guys. So if you'll give me a thumbs up, like it, if you do like it, comment, tell me what your favorite Jefferson Airplane albums are, songs, anything. But until next time, and hope it won't be 6 months later, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 6 days, who knows. But anyways, you know what I'm about to say? You guys, take care.